us from Clark, Missouri.
Okay.
And Greg and Jen live down there, and they're anyhow, they come here from Clark, Missouri, or Greg does. They have 1,620 acres of leased ground and leased and owned ground. And Greg and Jen nearly went bankrupt back in 1999 to paying off their farm and their house in 3 years. And now they own 4 additional farms as well as lease 12 farms. And they do this through a planned grazing where they use cow-calf pairs, bred heifers, and as well as bulls and stockers. Greg has authored 2 books. One of them is No Risk Ranching, and the other one is Come Back Farms. And if you'll give me a warm welcome, we'll welcome Greg and Judy. We'll get him hooked up with that battery.
Thank you all. Wow, an honor. Great crowd. Just a great table. That's cool. My first time in North Dakota that I can remember. I was in South Dakota last year, but never been up here. So it's an honor to be up here today and kind of share with you all some of our successes and failures of what we're doing. We're in central Missouri. We're about halfway between Kansas City and St. Louis. It's in the rolling hills. Missouri's got quite a few diverse landscapes. We have a lot of timber down in the southern part of the state. They call that the Ozarks. It's really rocky, hilly type ground, very low production. And then you go, the further north you go, you get up by the Missouri River. We're actually located about 20 miles north of the river. And we're in the hills. We're right at the start of the Ozarks. So we don't have the rocks, so to speak. We do have the hills. We're in a clay base. Our topsoil, some of the farms we got when we started were about 2 inches. Had been farmed years and years ago, so the topsoil is now in the Gulf of Mexico. So we have to start from scratch and build this stuff back up. If you go further north, going like 10 miles north of our place, then you get into the plains of Missouri. There's no trees, it's very flat, it's all farm ground. That's where I kind of grew up the last few years. When I was in high school, my parents moved out to the plains, but I always had a hankering to get back into the timber and the woods and the rolling hills. I just like trees, and I like the hills. I was conventional. I bought the farm, I bought the cattle, I bought the equipment, and let me back up. The bank that bought all that, I was making the payments on it, or trying to. And I had a good job in town. I was making pretty good money. I'm like, you know what, as long as I've got this job in town, even if I don't make any money on the farm, I can still pay it off with my town job. That was my thinking at the time, and I was very conventional. I was doing everything like everybody told me to do. I had the bigger livestock, big cows. I was tied to, feeding, getting that great big calf and all this stuff. And at the end of the year, there wasn't anything left. And I really enjoyed the cattle, I enjoyed the grass, but I wasn't making any money. Matter of fact, I was going backwards. And then I read an article that said your sole purpose in life should not be to own the land, but to control it. And I was in a rural area, still am, and so what they were talking about was leasing land. And I was in a terrible position in my life. I didn't have any income, I didn't have any equity, and so I was forced into doing custom grazing. So I started custom grazing other people's livestock, and we got paid so much a day, so much a cow, and at the end of every month I got a check from these cattle owners. So we were grazing other people's cattle on other people's land, and did pretty well with that. It started taking off, and I got my name out there. And the highlight of our custom grazing, we were doing about 1,500 yearlings a year. We had like 300 to 500 cows, and I had some pretty big farms. We lost a couple of those farms. One of the lessons I learned, when you lease land, you don't lease it by the year, you don't lease it on a handshake. Get a written lease. Protect yourself.
Because it's a lot of work to go in and develop a farm, and you know how fast time goes by? It goes by fast as you get older, I found that out. So make sure you get a lease on it, and it should be a multi-year lease. We've set a goal now, we don't lease a farm unless I can get 7 years, and preferably longer. The longer it is, the longer you have time to recoup any investment you made in there and to turn the farm around. We found, if we can get our hands on a piece of ground, within 1 to 2 years, we've made such a significant improvement in that land with our management practices using the livestock that the landowners aren't really that crazy about kicking. They want us to stay there because it was kind of a mess before we got there. So we're going to talk a little bit about that this morning, where we started and where we ended up. And do I have a clicker? I don't have a clicker. Okay, I'm going to do that. Okay. So let's turn out the lights. Anybody controlling the lights? Let's turn the lights down so we can see everybody see the screen from there? Is that too dark? Okay, so we're going to talk this afternoon about building healthy soil and profits with planned grazing. Before we get started, first of all, I was a continuous grazer, folks. I was born in northern Minnesota on a dairy farm in 1959. My mom got tired of the cold winters. We moved back south to Missouri in 1965 and been there ever since. But I was on a farm my whole life. I just thought, you turn the cows out, there's the grass, they eat it, and when you run out of grass, you either sell the cows or you feed hay. That's what we did. And so we did that, and that wasn't working at all. And then I started doing management-intensive grazing, where we were on a set rotation. I followed the calendar pretty well. I looked at the days. About every 3 to 5 days, I'd move my cows around the farm. And that was a whole lot better than set stocking, just leaving them what we call the Columbus method, where you turn your cows out in the spring, you discover them in the fall. We still have neighbors that are doing that. A lot of people do that. You can drive the wheels off your vehicle in Missouri and you won't find one high tensile wire anywhere. They're not controlling their grass. They're not controlling the cattle. They're not managing it. So we did that management-intensive grazing from 91, that's when I went to my first class, clear up until 2006. And I heard an old guy from South Africa. You'll hear me talk a little bit today about Ian Mitchell-Innes. Ian's a big old South African landowner, and he's got 14,000 acres. He's been doing holistic management grazing for 20-some years. And he's been able to quadruple his stocking rate on his ranch. First time I heard him talk, he doubled it. And I'm like, Ian, how much lime did you put down? Well, he said, chap, you're not a very good listener. I told you none. I said, how much phosphorus and potassium? I mean, you've got to put something out there to grow this kind of crap. No, he said, I used the livestock. And he went on to say we shouldn't even call ourselves grass farmers. We should call ourselves microbe farmers. And I'm like, what's he talking about, these microbes? Well, he was talking about the soil. If we have healthy soil, we're going to have healthy grass, or better grass. We'll be able to grow more of it. You're also going to be able to build more organic matter. And I think that's one of the things that's lacking on a lot of farms, is we don't have the organic matter in our soils anymore. Folks, pre-settler time, before white men arrived with a firearm and shot all the buffalo and started putting up fence and not moving animals anymore. The animals weren't being moved anymore. They were locked down in these farms or ranches. Pre-settler time, they figured it was 17 to 20% organic matter. Guess what it is today in the United States, the average? Anybody want to guess? 2? Somebody said 2. It's 0.5%. That's on cropped land. In other words, land that's being tilled. Pasture land is probably a little bit higher than that, but it's not much. Folks, for every 1% increase in organic matter that you can carry on that farm per acre, it's around 25,000 gallons of water per year, per acre increase. So let's just say you had 1%. If you could take that to 4%, you just increase the carrying capacity or the holding capacity of your soil 3 times. That's 75,000 gallons of water. Y'all are in a drought here. And I think droughts are kind of normal in this type of, this is a lower rainfall area. Droughts seem to be kind of common. They're getting to be more common. It's pretty erratic. In Missouri, 2012, worst drought we've ever seen in Missouri history. We had crop planted that year that never saw rain, ever. And it got about knee high, it withered up, and it died. That doesn't happen in Missouri. We're 38-inch rainfall. That's our average. That year we got 7 inches. So they're starting to be more erratic. And I don't know, this may be, I talked to an old timer, Marshall, he's an old landowner of mine, rest his soul, he passed away 2 years ago, he's 93. And Greg said, he told me, he said, Greg, you don't know what dry is. You need to go back in the 30s. He said, my cows, he said, I would go out to the pasture in the morning, to the gate. When he got off work, he would go out there from work in the field. He would go out there and grab his axe, and those cows would follow him to the timber. And each cow got 1 elm tree. He chopped down an elm tree for each cow. That's how he got through that drought, was feeding them trees. That's pretty dry. And he said everything was burned up. There was no grass. Everything was burned up. The grasshoppers ate the rest. So they just cleaned up this farm. So, droughts, we've had droughts a long time. I think droughts are normal. I don't get too far into droughts, but I can tell you this. There's several things that can help you in a drought. And I've learned that really over trial and error. And that is, you have got to cull some animals early. Don't procrastinate. It's not going to get any better. Though every day you wait in a drought to get rid of those cows that are suspect, you're going to have to get rid of more of the ones you don't want to get rid of because you're going to run out of feed. Don't wait. Jump in and do it. In 2012, I knew we were in trouble. I was measuring my regrowth. I went back and drove a stake. We do that. We measure our regrowth. So I went back in 2 weeks after I'd moved. I just kept going back to the spot where we'd started the spring grazing. There was no regrowth. There was none. It wasn't coming back. By the end of May, I knew I was in trouble. We were stocked. I thought about right for the spring flush. We didn't get any rain. We had 45 days that hit 105 degrees. 45 days in a row. Folks, those cows couldn't cool down at night. See, when cows' guts, they can't lose that heat through the day. At night, you get into cattle performance issues. They actually start dropping weight. They don't put on weight, they drop weight. Well, when I saw that our grass was not recovering, I immediately decided that I had to cut 30% of our cow herd. That was yearlings and everything. So I sold all the yearling bulls. I just sold them. They weren't grass-fed beeves. We had about 75, 80 steers. They were 870 pounds. They needed to be about 970 to be finished. Didn't matter. I sold them. And my wife got on to me. She said, Greg, what are we going to sell for grass-fed beef? I said, honey, we're trying to survive. We got to get rid of them. And we did. Sold them. And we did this early enough in the market that nobody was selling anything. Everybody was holding off. And folks, I pray for rain, and there's nothing wrong with praying. But it's not a good management strategy. You have got to manage for what you know. You know how much grass you have in front of you. You know how many animals you have. You have got to treat every blade of grass out there like it's your last one. Treat every blade of grass on your farm right now in the growing season that it's your last one, because you may not grow any more this year. And if you do that, you're going to survive. Not only are you going to survive, you may even prosper. Because here's what happened in Missouri. I sold out July 1st. We were done. We were destocked. We still had 2/3 of the best of our cows. We kept the best heifers and our best bulls. Those cows just slid through the growing season. It was awesome. They did great. We had plenty of feed. We were moving them. We're moving them twice a day with polywire. We do a lot of temporary polywire paddings. But all the neighbors, they started feeding hay. They started feeding hay in July. By the end of July, a big round bale in Missouri was about $125. That's for a 1,000-pound bale. And it wasn't very good quality hay. By the end of August, that hay was up around $200, if you could find it. Well, then the hay was gone. There wasn't any hay. You couldn't buy it at any price. And the farmers started taking them to the sale barns. And the cows were thin. Their pastures looked like this tabletop. And they were told to take those cows back home. They didn't have the pen space for them. They didn't have the pen space. They didn't have the market. They didn't have the buyers for them. So they really got hammered. They had to load those cows back up, bring them back home. A lot of them watched them die. So that was just all management. That's what it was. None. They didn't use any management. And so I think we could help ourselves. The other thing we did, folks, we had 3 herds. We combined all 3 herds. That's the very first thing I did. It's the very first thing I did. I combined all the herds into one. That is one of the most strongest tools you have in your toolbox in a drought. If you've got 3 herds and they're going around your farm in 3 different locations, you just cut your recovery time by 2/3. You put them all together. Put them all together. That's going to build your recovery. You're going to have more grass. Yes, the animals are going to be in one spot. And yes, they're going to be grazing that, but it's better to slow them down than to get around your farm real quick when you don't have any moisture. So those are just some of the things that I learned, and it works. It works really well. But here's the biggest kicker, folks. Those people that didn't destock, the next spring, well, not even the next spring, that fall, we had our Hurricane Isaac come in. Hurricane Isaac came up from the coast. That was the 15th of August. And we got 7 inches of rain in like 4 or 5 days. We grew a ton of winter stockpile. Everything took off growing. And that's because we didn't overgraze our pastures. We left them, we still had 4 or 5 inches of grass out there. Everybody else had tabletop pastures. They didn't grow any grass. They didn't have anything to catch the water. They grazed that farm off so low and so short, there was no thatch there to hold the water back. And so they didn't grow any grass. Worse than that, the next spring, because they'd overgrazed their pastures, the pastures didn't start growing for 3 weeks later. See, when you grow that pasture, when you graze that pasture down to where it's tabletop, you've removed what they call the growing point. There's a growing point. It's a little bitty blade. It's right in the bottom of the plant. If you take that growing point off in the fall, man, you have hurt yourself big time. Those plants are going to suffer coming back the next spring. They're going to be later. Which means you're going to have to feed hay later. All right, I'll get off of that for a little bit. We're going to talk about building some soil. You can go ahead and click it. So that's what we're doing. We're in the solar energy business. We're trying to take the animals and convert that grass blade into a saleable product, which is beef. And we're trying to do that with no inputs. We don't have minimal machinery. We don't use any chemicals, no fertilizer, and no lime. And we don't seed anything anymore. I used to be a big red clover seeder. I'd go out every winter in February, and I'd frost seed on about 3 pounds of red clover per acre across our farm to keep clover in our farm. Well, when we switched to this high-density grazing in 2007, where we're actually getting more animal impact now, longer recovery periods when we need to, everybody wants a recipe to take home to their farm and say, okay, if I plug this recipe into my farm, I can do exactly what Greg's doing in Missouri. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Because every one of your all's farms is different from mine. It may be different from your neighbors, your soil types. the grade of livestock you're raising, whatever. It's always fluctuating. And see, we're dealing with nature. And in nature, nothing stays the same, ever. It's always fluctuating, and we have to be able to learn to fluctuate on our farms to prosper. It's not that hard to do. Once you get into it, I mean, you can really start to identify some of the things before they ever happen. So we can go ahead and switch. We went to high-density grazing in 2006. So we're getting more animal impact. The litter bank, folks, for those of you who haven't heard that term, the litter bank, a litter bank is like, think of it as a mulch. It's a dry mulch that you're trying to form across your entire farm. And the way you get that mulch on there is you let it get up some height, and you try and trample it with the cattle, or maybe a couple, in this area, maybe only once in the grazing season, maybe twice, depending on how fast your grasses are growing, how much moisture, but you don't want to take it all. You've got to leave something there. You've got to feed the soil biology. Folks, in good, healthy soil, there's more animal weight below your feet in weight per acre than there is above it in good, healthy soil. Think about that. There's a lot of critters down there if we'll feed them. But if we don't feed them, they're not going to be there. They're going to starve to death, and your soil is going to be dead. Do you all know the difference between dirt and soil? What's dirt? Dirt is soil without life. Soil has life. Some people say, well, my neighbor's dirt's blowing over onto my property. You're right, it's dirt. Doesn't have any life in it. You caught their dirt, but you didn't catch their soil. Less hay feeding, no seeding, no fertilizer, no lime. We were stocked to 4 acres per animal unit, and now we're down to 2. So an animal unit is 1,000 pounds, and that could be 5 ewes that weigh 200 pounds, or it could be 10 goats that weigh 100 pounds. It's 1,000 pounds of animal weight. That's an animal unit. This is overgrazing. This is not mob grazing. And that's me. I was doing that, and I didn't know any better. I learned. Now the cows, those were some custom grazed cows. They were big girls. These Charolais, that was a registered Charolais herd. There were some cows in that weighed over 2,000 pounds. Big draft animals. You could have hooked a plow to them. You could have and plowed a field with them. But those cows, we went from that. Oh, this is a red flag right here, by the way. If you look underneath that wire and you see the full length of your paddock where you had them, see, they're only there for 12 hours. But they ate it all. They ate everything. Yes, I did get some good tramping. I've got a pretty good litter bank here, but I'm pushing my animals too hard. I took too much. They reached under that wire and risked getting the back of their neck shot to get another bite of grass. You shouldn't do that. I shouldn't have forced them to do that. I didn't know any better. Let's go to the next picture. I love that picture. That tells me those animals left that paddock with a full gut. I've got a lot of carbon trampled on the ground that's going to form my litter bank. And I left some standing. There's some standing in there. Some standing forage is good too. It slows up the wind across your paddock. You don't want it all flushed down. We can go to the next picture. This is a controlled grazing on the left versus continuous grazing on the right. Now this guy over here, he's not capturing any water. Well, it's falling on his farm, but it's all running over onto me. I'm taking his water because he doesn't want it. He doesn't want it because that's the way he's managing his pastures. But yet he looks over there, he can go back, and he says, well, Greg, you get more rain than I do. And so I'm going to put a water thermometer right there. Right on the fence line. He's convinced that we get more rain than he does. Well, he's right. We get all his rain. We're capturing it on our farm. But it's not because we're thieving it. We're just the way we're managing. See, this is grazed about every, Missouri, it depends on the rain, but we'll graze that farm probably 3 to 4, maybe 5 times a year. But folks, we don't come back until it's fully recovered. Do you know how you can tell if a plant's fully recovered? Look at the tip of the grass blade. If it's got a nice sharp point on it, if it's still got the blunted point from where it was grazed off, that plant is still trying to get recovered. And the most vulnerable time of a plant is when it's had one bite off of it, and before it can get recovered, a cow takes another bite off. And the lower you make that solar collector, the shorter you bring that solar collector down. That's what it is. Those are solar collectors. They're capturing the energy from the sun. How much solar energy do you think my neighbor's capturing right here? 0. He doesn't have any leaves out there. He's actually got gullies now starting in that pasture. And that's because he's just not built any soil life. He's not feeding the soil. He's taking every bit of it. Okay, we can go to the next one. Be aware of your surroundings. When you deal with nature, things happen a little bit slower. We all want things to happen quickly. And it really, we need to be able to change our management at a drop-dead notice. I mean, like that. But for things to happen, sometimes it takes a little time. And what works today may not work tomorrow. Let's say you turn your cows out onto a pasture. You've got them in there, let's say at 100,000 pound stocking density, which would mean 100 cows that weigh 1,000 pounds on, let's say, 1 acre. That's 100,000 pounds. And you get a 3-inch rain that night. Well, you better get out there pretty early and get those cows off of there, because they're going to destroy that pasture. Anytime you group animals up real tight in puggy conditions when you have a lot of rain, you're just asking for those cows to compact your soil. See, compaction is not a function of the animals, it's a function of you. How long did you leave those animals there? We can have some pretty chewed up pastures by the end of the wintertime, but you go out there in spring, let's say the end of May, oh my gosh, it's like walking on a, literally, I've had people come and walk on our farm like, great, it feels like I'm walking on a feather bed. That's how soft the soil is. It's because we've got the organic matter. We went from 0.5%. We took samples, subsoil, from topsoil all the way down to 20 inches. 2 samples on all our paddies. We're up around 7% today on some of those paddies. 7% organic matter. We've done that with trampling, using the animals. We don't put up any hay on our farm. I don't own any hay equipment, but we do pencil in about a bale per cow for the winter. We buy it. And in Missouri, there are just dozens of hay contractors. That's all they do. They just bale hay and they sell it. And I can buy hay a lot cheaper than I can own equipment to bale it. I'm not against people owning equipment to bale it. If you're at the scale and you can afford it, it's working good, you can capture that hay when it's at its best, more power to you. I was talking with Tom last night about his haylage. I've had a little practice with haylage. That's some really good stuff. If it works in your operation and your cows can winter on it, use it. We don't use the haylage. I don't have the equipment to run the haylage, but what I'm saying is pretty darn good stuff. You can take crap hay and make it good hay. That's one of our yearling bulls. The type of cattle we run are called South Pole. They're a 4-way cross. They're Barzona. They're a quarter Barzona, a quarter Hereford, a quarter Red Angus, and a quarter Centipole. The Centipole came from the island of St. Croix. It gives them heat and humidity resistance. They really can take the heat. In Missouri, we get hot, and our humidity, you can go out in July in Missouri, and our humidity would be around 80 to 90%. You can sit in a chair in the shade and sweat just rolls down your face. Folks, that's when it's hard for cows to perform. That humidity will get them. It's not the heat, it's the humidity. But anyway, these are grass genetic. We do all grass-fed beef. The cows, we've got our own herd now. We don't do any more custom grazing. We own everything. We're out of debt. These animals here can make a living on grass without any supplement. Now, we do give them mineral. I don't really consider a mineral supplement. I guess it is, and we're buying it. But, you know, these farms that we get, there's very poor mineralization in them, and that's because they've been hayed to death. People around us come in, if you will give people that your hay, they'll come and get it. They'll bale that stuff off, and they won't put any fertilizer down. And they keep doing that until the whole field turns to broom sedge. Once it turns to broom sedge, you're done. Nothing like broom sedge. They call that poverty grass. But these are the kind of animals that we're trying to get to. Most of our cows today are around 1,000 pounds, 950 to 1,000. We started out with some 14 to 1,600 pound cows, and we found out those cows got thin on us in the wintertime. And when those cows calved, they were thin, they didn't breed back. Folks, if you can keep a cow condition around 5 to 6 when they calve, there's a 97% breed back. If that cow condition drops down to 3 to 4, it's about 55 to 60%. The biggest cost in the cow-calf business in Missouri is an open cow. You know, you can sell a bred cow for $1,800 right now. That's what they're selling for in Missouri, a good one. That same cow will sell for $700. That's an $1,100 hit. If you bought a bred cow and you bring her back as an open, try and make that up in a year on a calf. You can't do it. You've got to make sure your cows get bred back. And so we've downsized our cows, and now these cows will breed on grass without any supplementation and one bale of hay for the whole winter. We graze all winter long. Now, if we get some ice and snow, we have that emergency hay, we're going to feed it. And folks, if I was in North Dakota, I would have emergency hay. Especially after I saw what Jerry Doan went through. I'd never met Jerry until this last winter. At the no-till on the plains, him and Gabe Brown and Jay Fuhrer were there. Jerry's putting up these slides of a bulldozer pushing snow, and I thought, I had snow? You all have some serious snow. I really hold my hand off. You all are some tough folks, okay? You really are. It's awesome. All right, let's go to the next one. So monitoring, we're trying to observe our livestock grazing behavior, and we can observe the gut feel. We'll get a little bit more talk in this tonight. I'm going to cover more about that, how to watch your livestock a little closer. We can go on. Next slide. Water. Water's critical. They've got to have good water. I don't like making my cows drink brackish water. If it's kind of blackish looking and they've been pooping and peeing in it, I've found we have health issues. But if I can keep my animals clean and clean water, they've actually done some studies on this. You get 50 pounds more in your calf. Over a grazing season, you'll have 50 pounds more weight there at the end of the fall with a calf that's got access to clean water. Okay, go to the next one. The dung beetles, this is the big one. These guys here are rolling this up into a turd, a little round turd, and the female actually lays an egg in there. And so all these manure pads have fly larvae in there. The flies come in and land on there, and they lay their eggs in there, and they hatch.